She stopped texting back as quickly. Plans that used to be easy to make now come with hesitation. The energy just feels different, and you're sitting there wondering what the hell happened and what you should do about it. Look, I'm going to be straight with you. This situation has probably ended more promising relationships than actual incompatibility ever has. Not because the woman pulled away, but because of what the guy did next. So today, we're breaking down exactly what separates men who handle this gracefully from those who accidentally push women further away. The first move. They do nothing. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but hear me out. When a woman starts pulling away, the absolute worst thing you can do is react immediately. Most guys feel that distance and their anxiety shoots through the roof. They start texting more, calling more, asking, "Is everything okay?" every 5 seconds, trying to force deep conversations about the relationship. High-value men recognize that immediate reaction as their ego freaking out, not their intuition telling them something useful. So, they sit with the discomfort first. They let themselves feel whatever comes up without acting on it, because here's the reality. Women pull away for 100 different reasons, and most of them have absolutely nothing to do with you. She might be overwhelmed at work. She might be dealing with family drama. She might be in her own head about where the relationship is going. She might even be testing unconsciously to see if you're going to become clingy and needy. When you immediately react to her pulling away by pushing forward, you're making it about you before you even know what it is. You're letting your insecurity drive the car. And women can sense that a mile away. So the first move is actually no move. You give it some time. You observe. You notice the pattern without panicking about it. This might mean waiting a few days, or even a week, depending on the situation. This time, you're not ignoring her or playing games. You're just not being reactive. If she reaches out, you respond normally. You just don't initiate from a place of anxiety or need. This pause serves another critical purpose. It gives you time to get your emotions under control. When you're anxious or hurt, you're going to say and do things you'll regret later. You're going to come across as needy, insecure, or worse, angry and accusatory. None of those things are going to help the situation. They check their own behavior first. Now, after that initial pause, high-value men do something most guys skip entirely. They look in the mirror. They ask themselves some honest questions. Have I been showing up as my best self lately? Have I been too available, too unavailable? Have I been living my own life, or making her the center of my universe? This isn't about blaming yourself or deciding you're the problem. It's about taking responsibility for the only thing you can actually control, which is your own behavior. Maybe you've been a bit too comfortable and stopped putting effort into dates. Maybe you've been venting to her about your problems constantly without creating any fun or lightness. Maybe you've been talking about the future too much and it's creating pressure. Or maybe you've been so focused on work or your friends that she's feeling neglected. The point is, high-value men have enough self-awareness to check their side of the street first. They don't do this from a place of insecurity, but from a place of genuine growth. They think, if I have been slipping in some way, I want to know so I can be better, regardless of what happens with this relationship. And sometimes, honestly, they realize they haven't done anything wrong. They've been showing up consistently, treating her well, being themselves. And that's valuable information too, because it tells them this probably isn't about them at all. This self-reflection also helps them understand patterns. Maybe this isn't the first time this has happened. Maybe there's something about how they approach relationships that creates this dynamic. That's powerful information that can help them grow and have better relationships in the future. They maintain their own life. This is where you really see the difference between high-value men and everyone else. When a woman pulls away, a high-value man doesn't put his life on pause waiting for her to come back around. He keeps hitting the gym. He keeps seeing his friends. He keeps working on his goals and projects. He keeps doing the things that made him interesting in the first place. His happiness and sense of purpose aren't dependent on her proximity or attention. And this isn't a strategy or a tactic. It's not about making her jealous or playing hard to get. It's genuinely about understanding that you're a complete person with or without her, and your life has value beyond this one relationship. Think about it. When you first met her, you probably had a full life. You had things you were excited about, goals you were chasing, friends you were spending time with. That energy is what attracted her in the first place. that sense that you were someone with your own direction, your own purpose. But what happens in a lot of relationships is guys start organizing their entire life around the woman. Every free moment is for her. Every decision gets run through the filter of, what does she want? The hobbies get dropped. The friendships get neglected. The personal goals get put on the back burner. And ironically, that's when attraction starts to fade, because you've stopped being the person she was attracted to. So when she pulls away, high-value men see it as a reminder to reconnect with themselves, to make sure they haven't lost themselves in the relationship. They might pick up that guitar they haven't touched in months. They might call up the guys for a weekend trip. They might dive deeper into that business project they've been passionate about. And often when a guy refocuses on his own life in an authentic way, the woman naturally starts leaning back in because she sees the man she was initially attracted to again. She sees someone who has his own world, his own passions, his own identity. That's magnetic in a way that neediness and desperation never will be. But even more importantly, maintaining your own life keeps you grounded. It prevents you from spiraling into obsessive thoughts about the relationship. It reminds you that you have value and purpose beyond being someone's boyfriend. It keeps your self-esteem intact. They match her energy without playing games. Here's a subtle but important distinction. High-value men understand the concept of matching energy, but they do it from a place of self-respect, not manipulation. If she's texting less frequently, they text less frequently. If she's being more reserved, they give her space. But they're not sitting there calculating exact response to playing tit-for-tat games. They're simply respecting the boundaries she's setting and protecting their own energy in the process. There's a big difference between this and playing hard to get or trying to make her chase you. When you're playing games, you're still operating from that same place of insecurity. You're still making her behavior the center of your attention, just in a different way. You're still trying to manipulate an outcome. High-value men match energy because they genuinely respect both themselves and her. They're saying through their actions, I see that you need some space right now, and I respect that. I'm also not going to overextend myself trying to force connection when it's not being reciprocated. This also protects them from exhausting themselves emotionally. If you're constantly the one initiating, constantly the one putting in effort, constantly the one trying to keep things going when the other person isn't meeting you halfway, you're going to burn out. You're going to start feeling resentful, and that resentment will poison whatever connection you had. Matching energy is really about balance and mutual investment. Healthy relationships require both people to be engaged and contributing. When one person pulls away, the other matching that energy creates a natural equilibrium that allows both people to figure out what they actually want without pressure. They communicate clearly without pressure. Now, here's where it gets nuanced. Maintaining your own life and respecting her space doesn't mean you become cold or distant. It doesn't mean you play games or give her the silent treatment. High-value men understand that healthy relationships also require clear communication. So after giving it some appropriate time, maybe a week or two, depending on the circumstances, they might reach out with something simple and pressure-free. Not a, we need to talk text, not a why are you being distant message. More like, hey, I've noticed you seem to have a lot going on. Just want you to know I'm here if you need anything, but no pressure if you need some space right now. That one message does so much heavy lifting. It acknowledges the shift in energy without being accusatory. It offers support without being needy. It respects her autonomy while keeping the door open. And it comes from a place of confidence rather than anxiety. The key is that it's not about getting a specific response. High-value men communicate to be clear and authentic, not to manipulate an outcome. If she needs space, they genuinely mean it when they say that's okay. If she wants to open up about what's going on, they're ready to listen without judgment. And if the pulling away continues and things need to be addressed more directly, they're willing to have that conversation too. But they do it from a calm, grounded place. They might say something like, I've noticed things feel different between us lately, and I wanted to check in if you're having doubts. Or need something different from me, I'd appreciate you being straight with me about it. This kind of communication is mature and respectful. It doesn't put her on the defensive. It doesn't come with ultimatums. It simply creates space for honesty. And whatever answer comes from that honesty, they're prepared to handle it like adults. They don't chase or beg. This should go without saying, but it's worth emphasizing because so many guys mess this up. When a woman pulls away, high-value men never, ever resort to chasing or begging. They don't send long paragraphs about how much she means to them. They don't show up at her place unannounced. They don't try to win her back with grand gestures or gifts. They don't ask her friends what's wrong or try to manufacture jealousy by posting pictures with other women. All of that stuff reeks of desperation. And desperation is probably the least attractive quality a man can display. It communicates that you don't have other options, that you don't value yourself, and that you're willing to abandon your dignity to keep someone around who doesn't want to be there. High-value men understand something fundamental. You cannot negotiate attraction. You cannot convince someone to want you. Either they do or they don't. And all the chasing in the world won't change that. In fact, it usually makes it worse. When you chase, you're essentially telling her that her rejection of you doesn't matter, that her boundaries don't matter, that what you want is more important than what she's clearly communicating through her actions. That's not romantic. That's not persistence. That's just disrespectful to both of you. Instead, high-value men trust that if it's meant to work out, it will. They trust that if she values the connection, she'll recognize what she has and come back. And if she doesn't, they trust that something better is waiting for them. That trust comes from a deep sense of self-worth that doesn't depend on any one person choosing them. They know when to walk away. Here's the truth that a lot of dating advice skips over. Sometimes when a woman pulls away, it's because she's not that interested anymore. Maybe the connection wasn't as strong as you thought. Maybe she met someone else. Maybe she realized you're not compatible in some fundamental way. And high-value men are secure enough to recognize when that's the case and walk away with dignity. They're not out here trying to convince someone to choose them. They're not doing backflips to win back someone who's clearly checked out. They understand that relationships require two people who are both enthusiastically choosing each other. And if that's not happening, no amount of effort on their part will fix it. This doesn't mean giving up at the first sign of difficulty. Relationships go through natural ebbs and flows, and sometimes people need space to figure out their feelings. But there's a difference between someone who needs a moment to breathe and someone who's fundamentally disengaged. High-value men pay attention to actions over words. If she's consistently unavailable, consistently unresponsive, consistently showing through her behavior that she's not invested, they take that information seriously. They don't make excuses for her. They don't wait around hoping she'll change her mind. They simply recognize that it's not working and they move forward. Not with bitterness or anger, but with self-respect. They might say something like, "I've really enjoyed getting to know you, but I'm sensing this isn't quite right for you anymore, and I respect that. I wish you all the best." And then they actually mean it and move on. They don't keep checking her social media. They don't keep hoping for breadcrumbs. They close that door and open themselves up to new possibilities. This ability to walk away is actually one of the most attractive qualities a man can have. It shows that he values himself. It shows that he has standards and boundaries. It shows that he's not so desperate for companionship that he'll settle for someone who's not all in. And ironically, sometimes this is what makes a woman realize what she's losing and come back. But even if she doesn't, he's better off. They use it as an opportunity for growth. Here's something that sets high-value men apart. They don't just react to situations, they learn from them. When a woman pulls away, whether it ends up being temporary or permanent, they use it as a mirror for their own growth. They ask themselves questions like, what can I learn from this? Were there red flags I ignored? Did I communicate my needs clearly? Was I being my authentic self or trying to be what I thought she wanted? Did I have healthy boundaries or was I giving too much too soon? This kind of reflection isn't about beating themselves up. It's about becoming more self-aware, more emotionally intelligent, and better prepared for future relationships. Because the reality is, you're going to face situations like this multiple times in your life. How you handle them determines the quality of relationships you'll have. Maybe they realize they need to work on their communication skills. Maybe they discover they've been choosing emotionally unavailable women because of their own attachment patterns. Maybe they learn they need to be better at maintaining their independence in relationships. Maybe they recognize they moved too fast and created pressure. Whatever it is, they take the lesson and grow from it. They might read books on relationships. They might talk to a therapist. They might have honest conversations with trusted friends about their patterns. They do the work to become better, not just to get this particular woman back, but to be a better partner in general. This growth mindset is what separates men who keep repeating the same relationship patterns from those who actually evolve and eventually find healthy, lasting love. They don't take it personally. This might be the hardest part, but it's crucial. High-value men understand that someone else's behavior is usually about them, not about you. When a woman pulls away, it's typically because of something going on in her own internal world, her own fears, her own past experiences, her own confusion about what she wants. Sure, maybe you did something that triggered her, but her response to that trigger is still about her patterns, her wounds, her defense mechanisms. A different woman might have responded completely differently to the exact same situation. When you take someone's pulling away as a personal indictment of your worth, you give away all your power. You start questioning everything about yourself. You start trying to mold yourself into someone different. You lose your center. High-value men stay grounded in their own sense of self-worth. They know they're not for everyone, and that's okay. They know that the right person will meet their effort with equal enthusiasm. They don't need to be chosen by this specific woman to feel valuable or worthwhile. This doesn't mean being arrogant or dismissive. It means having a healthy sense of self that doesn't crumble when one person doesn't reciprocate your interests the way you hoped. It means understanding that compatibility is complex, that timing matters, and that sometimes things don't work out for reasons that have nothing to do with anyone being wrong or bad. They can feel disappointed or hurt without letting it destroy their self-esteem. They can acknowledge that they wanted it to work out differently without making it mean something catastrophic about who they are as a person. The bigger picture. Look, here's what all of this really comes down to. High-value men understand that trying to control someone else's feelings or behavior is a losing game. The only thing you can control is yourself, how you show up, how you respond, how you treat people, and how you handle difficult situations. When a woman pulls away, it's actually an opportunity to demonstrate who you really are. Are you secure enough to give her space? Are you self-aware enough to examine your own behavior? Are you emotionally mature enough to communicate clearly without manipulation? Are you confident enough to walk away if it's not right? These are the qualities that actually make someone high value. Not playing games, not following some rigid set of dating rules, not trying to trick someone into wanting you, just being a whole, complete person who respects themselves and others, who has their own life and purpose, and who's willing to be vulnerable while also maintaining healthy boundaries. The irony is that when you embody these qualities authentically, when you genuinely become someone who doesn't need any particular relationship to feel complete, that's often when people stop pulling away, because that self-assuredness, that groundedness, that respect for both yourself and others is incredibly attractive. But even if she doesn't come back, even if this particular connection doesn't work out, you've still won, because you've handled the situation with integrity. You've grown as a person. You've maintained your self-respect, and you're better prepared for the right relationship when it comes along. That's what high-value men do when a woman pulls away. They don't panic, they don't chase, they don't lose themselves. They stay rooted in who they are. They give space when needed, they communicate clearly, and they know when to walk away. And in doing all of that, they become the kind of men that healthy, secure women actually want to be with. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content on building genuine confidence and having healthier relationships. Drop a comment below with your thoughts or experiences. And remember, your value isn't determined by whether someone chooses you. It's determined by how you choose to show up in the world. I'll see you in the next one.